Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is part 2 of teams to manage on Football Manager 2019. If you haven't already watched part 1, I'd recommend to go do that first, where we looked at teams 20 to 10, just before I get people in the comments saying you missed this team, you missed that team. Have a look at that and then come back to this one for my top 10. First of all, thank you to everyone who watched part 1. I've got over 300 views, I think, now, which is absolutely mental for a little channel like mine. So thank you very much. All the comments, I've had a few on YouTube. I had loads on Reddit and Twitter and stuff. It's great to get feedback. Everyone gets excited about the new saves. Ready for FM19. So thank you very much. And thank you to all the new subs. I had a quick influx of new subs as well, which is always great. And if you haven't already subbed, do it now to watch me take on FM19, first of all with Man United, and then a little journeyman twist, which I'll talk about at the end. But guys, let's get into it. We're going to look at the top 10 teams to manage in FM19. Let's get into it. We're going to go to Scotland now, so we're going to have a look at not Celtic, not Rangers, but Aberdeen. Now I've picked Aberdeen ahead of the other two just because I think it's that extra little bit of difficulty. Now with Gerrard there, Rangers are starting to look a little bit stronger. Obviously Celtic are strong. So you've got your work cut out. However, Aberdeen have got fantastic history. I always like to see a club with decent history. So in the Sir Alex Ferguson era, the club actually won 3 league championships, 4 Scottish Cups, the European Cup Winners' Cup, the European Super Cup, and a League Cup. And then that was in sort of like the mid-80s, I think it was, late 70s, early 80s, something. I think it was mid-80s anyway. So they've got a bit of history. They've got a decent fan base. Your squad will start quite strong. So I think in terms of your squad, you may be punching at maybe 3rd place to start with. So it's already there. Can you win a league title? I think Aberdeen were the last non-all firm club to win the league. And I think that would have been what would that have been? 20, 30, it would be 80s. So we're looking at 15, 30 odd years ago, I think. Maybe 37 years ago. On the plus point, they've got a new stadium. It'll either come in the start of the 2nd or the 3rd season. So once again, it'll help with your finances. A bigger, better stadium, I think, will always help with, number one, the club's reputation, getting the money in. Aberdeen, I think, is another one. Difficult league because there's not much money kicking around. So you'll have to wheel and deal. Potentially getting loans in from Premier League clubs back in England. But Aberdeen, there you are, number 10. Number 9, we're back in Germany. We're looking at 1860 Munich. Now they're back in the game after dropping to the 4th tier in the FM18. So they weren't actually in the official game, mainly because they were relegated from Bundesliga 2, and then their owner refused to pay the license fees, which meant they were automatically relegated from La Liga 3 down into sort of like the regional divisions. They have, however, bounced back, so they are in League 3. So 2 wins, 2 championships, 2 promotions will get you back into the Bundesliga. They haven't had much in terms of history. They've obviously fallen well behind their city rivals Bayern. They did actually share the Allianz Arena for a long, long time with Bayern. Bayern don't actually own it, the council do. So they shared it with them, and it actually on match days it lit up blue instead of lighting up red like it does for Bayern. I don't know if that'll be a mechanic in the game. They're actually playing in a really small stadium, which they did before they moved to the Allianz Arena. I don't know if the game mechanics, it might allow you to go back there potentially. I don't know. That'll be one to see, because I think once you get into the Bundesliga, the stadium thing will come up, I'd have thought, pretty quickly. And then it's the ultimate challenge, isn't it? To knock Bayern off their city perch, their league perch. I know I've mentioned it with Leverkusen, but this is definitely a bigger challenge with Munich. I think just with the rivalry that, to be fair, they've probably never really had, because the clubs have been a million miles apart. Right, number 8, a challenge that I'm actually looking at myself in FM18, and a British ex-Premier League club that have lost their way really, and now in the football wilderness, and that's Charlton. Fans are constantly protesting since the owner took over. I think the owner's a Belgian guy, Ronald Tuchelect, something like that he's called. He's basically bled the club dry. He's got other clubs. He was trying to use it as a feeder club, like I think it's the Pozzo family do with Watford, Udinese. What's the one that they've got in? I can't remember the one that they've got in Spain off the top of my head. But anyway, that's what they were looking to try and do with a couple of other clubs. He owned a couple of clubs in Belgium, including Standard Liège, which he no longer has. Fans are always protesting. The club has got big money problems. They've held back staff bonuses for the season and things like that at the moment in real life. But I think the difficulty, it will be hard, especially to get back in the Premier League with number one, with the money issue, the Championship being so strong. But you've got a massive stadium, a big fan base. So you're looking at a League One club with sort of like 27, I think the ground's about 30,000 seater stadium. The youth prospects are really good. The youth system is really good. So in the last few years, they've had Shelby, Gomez, Arta, Luckman to come through. And I think there's a couple on the books at the moment. They've got rid of another one to Brentford, which I can't think off the top of my head. But there will be a couple of players in there that you might be able to sell on for a bit of cash, or even if you get up the leagues quickly, hold on to them. So that's Charlton. A really interesting save. Can you get them back into the league? I was a big fan of Charlton in the late 90s. I always remember them beating Sunderland on penalties. Clive Mendonca's hat trick to get them. I think they won on penalties, but the game was like 4-4 or something like that. I'm sure it was. And then they had players like Mark Kinsella, Matt Holland, Paul Konchesky, Marcus Bent. There was a South African striker, Sean Bartlett. There was an Icelandic guy, Jonathan Johansson. There was another one, Klaus Jensen. They had some really decent footballers. Obviously lost their way a little bit. So can you get Charlton back into the Premier League? Right, number 7, we're looking at Sporting. So a team that has had a crazy turnaround in players, staff, chairmen, a lot over the last few months. So ever since they lost their last league game of the season, which meant they missed out on Champions League football, they then had 50 fans attack the club's training ground, injuring Des Bost. Which I think people would have seen. You got a few head injuries, things were thrown at the players. This led to 9 players leaving in the summer, a lot having their contracts sort of like null and void, even though I think Sporting are trying to get compensation. So Rui Patricio's one, who went to Wolves. Gelson Martins has gone on a free as well. He's gone to Atletico. So I think they would have been demanding for them to, you're looking at maybe 60-70 million quid altogether. They did get a bit of cash for William Carvalho, a player that I have been a big fan of. He's now moved on to Betis. The club has got minging debt, awful debt as well. You're not in the Champions League, so you're going to have to topple 2 big clubs in Sporting and Benfica. The management situation, I don't know how it'll be like in FM19. They did actually sack the new president. Actually sacked Sinisa Mihajlovic after 9 days. His first job was to sack him. So you've got a massive rebuilding job to do, and if it couldn't get any worse, you've got Nani as your club captain. So there's going to be a lot of work to do. Right, number 6, we're looking at Racing Club Lens in France. So a team that starts in League 2. However, they've had a bit of history. They actually won Ligue 1 back in 1998. And then slowly sort of like slid down the leagues. I think they might have bounced between Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 a couple of times. However, they've got a really impressive youth academy. So I think the facilities will be high in terms of 16, 17s out of 20 in the editor, in the database. They've got a big stadium, 37,000. A good stadium as well. It was actually a stadium that England beat Wales in the Euros back in, what would that be, in 2016. The main player that's come out of it is Raphael Varane. So I don't know if there's any sell-on fees with that, but he came through the Lens Academy. A long-term save for you once again. On the similar lines to, can you topple PSG? Can you build? It would be a great sort of like youth academy save for you to start. They've got a lot of youngsters, a lot of sort of like them French African youngsters in there. If you want to do a youth development challenge, I would really recommend Racing Club Lens. Right, top 5. Okay, so Real Betis. I've picked these, a club on the rise. They've actually, there's a YouTube channel called Tifo, and they do little 5-minute videos on tactics, clubs, managers, philosophies, clubs' philosophies. And I have followed Betis over the last couple of years, but this video really kicked in. I'll leave a link in the description for it. But I've chose these. Number 1, they're already on the rise. They're actually in Europa League. They actually got Europa League football, which, considering the Spanish league, despite it's been a very mixed bag in terms of the top 8 and the bottom sort of like half of the table, they're doing really well. They've got a massive stadium. I think the stadium holds like 55,000. I think they're pretty sure the debt free off. The debt is very, very small. So that's always a good base in Spain because money is always an issue. With sort of like the top teams probably getting at least double than what you're on if you're Betis. However, the squad's very well balanced. You've got good experience. You've got in the skipper, you've got Joaquim, the old right winger. He's still going, and his stats in FM18 were very impressive. Then you've got Andres Guadaro, who's the Mexican. I think he's the Mexican centre midfielder, Mexican captain. And then Javi Garcia. So there's 2 players in your spine that are very good. Adding to that, as I said, you've got William Carvalho, the guy from Sporting Lisbon, so another central midfielder, and Marc Bartra, the Barcelona, Dortmund centre-half. So you've got him in there as well. With that, you've also got the former wonder kids in Sergio Canales and Christian Tello. So there's a lot of potential in that team. Betis is another one which I won't be surprised to see if a lot of people go down that route. I think a lot of people might be going over to more Italy and Germany, but if you are going to Spain, guys, you want to do one in Spain, I would recommend Betis. At number 4, it's a big one. A club that I love, it's AC Milan. Lots changed for them. They've had a real dodgy period with the Chinese owners. They've finally gone, so I'm pretty sure the debt has been cleared. However, they don't seem to be a club at the moment with the current owners. I don't know how FM19 will work it, but the club aren't going to be spending loads. I think the idea for the current owners, they kind of take businesses that are struggling and then get them on a financial footing and then sell them on. So you might very quickly get a new owner. I don't know. But the squad is pretty strong. You've also got Higuain on loan. And then you've got youngsters, so you've got Donnarumma, you've got Calabria, the wing-back, Frank Kessie, Patrick Coturn, Manuel Locatelli, and the new signing, I think he came from Atalanta, I think he's called Matteo, it's Caldara, and I think it's Matteo Caldara. So you've got a real basis there of a really, really strong team. Now, I think a lot of people will be moving over to Italy for the Saints because you've got the re-emergence of sort of like your AC Milan, your Parmas, Inter, Lazio, Roma, Fiorentina, Juventus, Napoli, all really strong teams pushing for that top 4. So a really interesting save. I think it'll take you maybe a season to get into the Champions League. Then can you knock Juventus off the perch because obviously they've won the league God knows how many times in a row, and then get Inter Milan back to the way they were, so dominating the Champions League, always in the semi-finals and finals. I think if you're really good at the game, you'll be able to do this very quickly. However, it has the potential still to really drag out into a long-term save. Right into the top 3, we're going for FC20 of Holland. Former champions under the main man Steve McLaren back in 2010. They've actually been relegated to the Eredivisie, out of the Eredivisie at the end of the season. A few issues, lots of changing managers, but the main one is financial trouble. They had a couple of points deducted a couple of seasons ago of not being able to build. However, it's a pretty big team to get relegated. I'm pretty sure they had like a really long run of being in the league anyway. But with the division below being so weak, I think with the team that they have, you'll be able to bounce back straight away. This is another one potentially building a nation. So Ajax, Feyenoord and PSV are obviously really strong. So I think getting into the Eredivisie will be no problem, and then getting up into the sort of like top half will be no problem for you. But can you topple the big boys, especially Ajax? Because they've started buying big. They've spent, even though they've sold a load over the last few years, they've started buying. So they've got players like Daley Blind back in. You know, he cost £18 million. So teams like Ajax haven't done that for a while. So FC20, you'll need to get over the financial problems. You'll maybe need to get that one season in the Champions League to get your money boosted, and hopefully maybe even a buyout. I think to long term to suit the club, not to restrict you too much. But FC20, can you win the league? If Steve McLaren can do it, I'm sure you guys can do it. Right, guys, number 2, Sunderland. Now, I've done some notes for all the teams, and number 1 note, Sunderland FC, shithouse of a club. An absolute basket case of a club that a lot of teams have enjoyed seeing the downfall of, I think. Not in terms of the fans, because obviously the fans are really passionate, and and once again a fallen giant, not so much a giant, but a team that you could potentially turn into a giant with the stadium, the club size. So you start in League One, they've had a couple of relegations. You've had players like John O'Shea, Jack Rodwell, Fabio Barini, players like that in the squad, which is kind of gone. So the only ones you've really got left, you've actually got Catamol there, which I know people slag off, but I've used him a fair lot over the last couple of years. And as a ball-winning midfielder, he will do a job for you in there. So you've got Catamol, you've got Indong, Max Power, so that's pretty strong midfield. And then you've got the young players are sort of like Gooch, Maya, Duncan Watmore if he gets fit in the game as well. So I think getting out of League One won't be a problem. I think the actual club is debt-free as well. I'm pretty sure that FM19 will sort that out because the new chairman, who was from Eastleigh, bought the club and wiped the debt. Or he bought the club with no debt. I can't remember how the deal was structured. But anyway, you should start with no debt. Which for Sunderland, if anyone's managed Sunderland before, if they got relegated out of the leagues, out of the Premier League in FM19, they in FM18, 17, I think more, they tend to really struggle long term. And also, they haven't won anything for 45 years. So you've got a chance there to build a legacy, build that club back up. The fans are massive. 40-odd thousand seater stadium. So another one you could potentially topple. I like the idea in England as well because the top six, the Premier League is so strong. Can you get a really low club into that top six on a regular basis? It will be a long-term save, I think, Sunderland, but it won't be really enjoyable. And number one, we're going back to Germany. So Germany will see a really, really big boom in FM19. Mainly with the licensing stuff, but a lot of teams are really, really, really favourable. So we've already done 1860 Munich, we've done Leverkusen, and then there's teams like Kaiserslautern who've dropped down to the third tier, sort of like Bundesliga champions, I think, possibly. You've also got massive clubs like Schalke struggling. My team that I'm doing at the moment, Magdeburg, have moved up to the Bundesliga 2 for the first time. You've got big clubs like Dynamo Dresden, who Loki Doki's done an FM18 League Germany, a massive club who you could potentially start with. I'm choosing Hamburg. Now, a team that I've really struggled with over the years to get a save. I always go to them pretty early in every single sort of like game that I buy. They've got a massive fan base, rich history, but have fallen on their arse in the last couple of years. They've flirted with relegation over the last sort of like, 10 years maybe. And then finally at the end of the last season, they were relegated for the first time to Bundesliga 2. They were the only club who was played in the top flight of the Bundesliga every single season. That was 55 years. Now, bearing in mind, they haven't actually won anything since about 1984 in terms of the league titles. That era was a really rich era. So in the late 70s, early 80s, they won sort of like 6 league titles. They won the Champions League in 1983. But ever since then, it's slowly drifted down. They have got money problems as well, but I think that is manageable once you get back up into the Bundesliga. With the money that you get in the Bundesliga, that is manageable, I would have thought. You also have one of my favourite FM legends, Kyriakos Papadopoulos, the centre-half. I think he went around sort of like maybe Dortmund, Leverkusen. He's in the game. And you've also got the wonder kid, Jan Fiet Arp. I think it's the right way to pronounce his name. So guys, there is my top 20 teams to manage in FM19. For me, I'm starting the series when the game drops in the beta. I'm doing just a beta for maybe up to 5 seasons with Manchester United. So my other team along with York City, just to get used to the game. I don't often pick United, but I thought just with how the team's going in real life at the moment, get a couple of players and just get a feel for the game. Can we get some Champions League wins, some Premier League wins, and can we get the team playing decent football again? The main save for me is a journeyman. Now, I've never done a journeyman before. Obviously, I'm new to YouTube, but I've never actually done a journeyman off camera either. But it's taken a slight twist. So I'm taking on the game as Roberto Baggio. So the original trequartista, arguably the greatest trequartista, former Ballon d'Or winner. He's never actually gone into management. He has his pro license. Obviously, he has the reputation. He's never gone into it. So I'm going to start the game as Roberto Baggio with all his coaching badges. I'll try and do his characteristics similar to what he sort of like was as a player. And then we'll start unemployed and we'll see where it takes us. I am looking at going across to actually South America at one point. I want to manage Boca because actually Boca Juniors, he went to a game and he classes Boca Juniors as his club. So they're my 2 saves. Thank you very much for listening for the last sort of like the 2 parts that we've done. Once again, please leave your comments. Teams that I've missed, teams that you're going to be starting with, let me know who you're going to start with and why you're going to start with that team. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, guys, and we will see you for the next one very soon. See you later.
But still, Badger. Oh yes.